I am so poorly prepared this week. We'll just give it a go and see what happens, shall we?
Bring the energy up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Everything's Fine, probably the podcast equivalent of finding a tenner in an old pair of jeans only to realise is actually just lint. But hey, it's good lint. I'm Jim. I'm joined as ever by Shelley and Stu, and we're here with your weekly antidote to bad news. Think of us as the multivitamins for your mental health, if multivitamins occasionally swore and forgot what they were talking about halfway through. Stu, Shelley, how are you both this week?
Good. Oh, guess what I've done? This is genius.
Is it something to do with cats?
Kind of, yeah. I've left the window behind me open.
That's
Right.
probably a very good idea after
Wow.
last week,
Okay.
yeah.
It's already worked. He's already
Yeah.
been through once.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people said Albert Einstein was a genius, but I suppose leaving the window open is similar in many ways. Wouldn't we agree on?
Yeah. Don't play down my moment.
I'm not
It's
playing
hard
down.
for me to do something that's even remotely
I'm not-
clever or
I'm not-
practical these days.
I'm not playing down the moment. I think my cat will probably
That took a
interrupt us.
lot of effort. That
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I think my cat will be in soon asking for a dinner. So see how that goes.
Excellent. So that took less than a minute this week for you two to start bickering.
We're not bickering. We're
I think
just
that's a new
chatting.
record. Well done.
We're just chatting. This is us
This
chatting,
is
Jim.
how we love.
This is how we do it, Jim.
Well, that's nice. Now, if you've been following the show regularly, you'll know we've been charting the thrilling soap opera that is the Deep Sea Treaty, the international agreement to protect the ocean floor from being strip mined like it's Blackpool Arcade's carpet.
Whoa! We haven't had this for a few weeks. This is exciting.
Well, good news first. Luxembourg and Congo have now ratified it, which means we are officially 2 countries closer to the treaty
Oh,
becoming law.
go Luxembourg and the Congo.
And 2 entire nations who have basically stood up and gone, yeah, we'd quite like the bottom of the ocean not to look like a teenager's bedroom, thanks a lot. The bad news,
Oh,
our own UK government still hasn't ratified it. They promised to get it done by the end of the year, which is politicians' speech, I suppose, for don't hold your breath. Which, to be fair, if you're waiting on the Deep Sea Treaty, holding your breath is probably appropriate. Why the delay? I've got theories. Maybe some say they're waiting for a proper impact assessment. Some say it's stuck in committee. I think they're worried about offending Poseidon. You know what he's like. One minute he's God of the sea, next minute he wants a knighthood and a seat in the Lords.
Well, you know.
They're definitely worried about offending someone, I think.
Who might that be, Shelley?
Someone who might slap tariffs on us.
Are we talking about the politics of offence here? Well, I see Mr. Farage on the news today. He was doing a landmark speech. Don't know if you caught any of that. So the usual...
It was his usual chuck 'em all out speech, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Send them back.
Yeah. So apparently we're going to have to change all the laws and come out of the human rights agreement.
Bloody humans with all their rights.
Yes. But if we can do that, we can apparently send back refugees to death or torture. But, you know, as he said, we can't be responsible for all the world's ills.
Have you seen any roundabouts with wonky red lines spray painted over them?
I've seen lots of pictures of them on social media, but we don't seem to have any in my part of the world.
No, I haven't got any here.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, for all your cynicism, Shelley, it could be the reason for not ratifying this treaty is much simpler. It could be the cabinet just hasn't decided what species of deep sea fish they want to name the treaty after.
Yeah,
the blobfish are called.
Yeah.
The anglerfish agreement.
Yes.
Or do we just fall back on that classic British catch-all Treaty McTreaty face?
Well, that's always a winner, isn't it? Always a winner.
They could name it after cod or some other popular fish in the
Mm,
UK.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
The
Or
bad cod treaty.
call it the golden place. Anyway, I expect they will get around to it. As soon as they've sorted out the housing crisis, fix the NHS, ban the missing HS2 money. Yeah, so any time between now and the heat death of the universe, basically.
Anyway, are you going to be talking about bees tonight? Because
Well,
I love a bee story.
cool your boots, Stu. Yeah,
Oh,
because
oh,
absolutely. No, we are going to go from good news for sea creatures to good news for those slightly buzzier creatures. Scientists at Oxford have developed a honeybee superfood. It's basically a kind of protein shake for bees that could help colonies survive climate change and habitat loss. And it does actually work. In trials, colonies fed on this supplement produced up to 15 times more baby bees that actually made it to adulthood.
that's
Now, because let's not forget, bees, I mean, this story has caught on. People are actually talking about this one. And, people like bees, don't they? And bees are pretty important. They pollinate about 70% of the world's food crops. So without bees, you got no apples, no tomatoes. Worst of all, no gin and tonic with cucumber. Truly apocalyptic stuff.
Well, I think if you want to look at the fate of human beings, you always look at the bees. Always look at the bees.
I just like that, it was just when you mentioned baby bees, and then I just drifted off then like, oh, baby bees. How cute.
Bless you. Bob, 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 baby bees.
Hmm.
We make that catch on? That be a
Well,
thing?
yeah.
Anyway, look, what's been happening up till now is that when pollen runs low, beekeepers have been feeding bees stuff that's, I mean, it's like the insect equivalent of a pot noodle. Sugar, water, and protein flour. So it's fine at a pinch, but it's actually about as nutritious as a 2 a.m. kebab. Imagine
Have
trying to
you
survive the winter on nothing but pot noodle and monster munch, which was basically my entire diet in my 20s. So I can confirm it's not ideal. So, Shelley, you were about to say.
have you seen those little bee rescue kits you can buy, bee first aid kits? And it's
Yeah, I have
I
seen
have
those on
not.
social
little
media.
key
Yeah.
rings that have got sugar water in them. So if you see a bee struggling, you can just give it a little drop of sugar water.
Oh, how adorable is that?
Mm.
So a few years ago in my house, upstairs, I've got an old fireplace and it had a small hole in it. And one day, a whole colony of bees escaped into my house, but they were kind of tired and dozy, and there was just like a rug full of bees on the floor. So I was like, I had to scoop them up with a spade, and I was just scooping them out of the windows. But then after a while, they became agitated, and I got stung on my lip, got stung on my face, on my eyelid. Honestly, 300, 400 bees all buzzing around in my house.
You did think it would be a good idea to get some, like, pest control type person who could have like safely got them out, like in a box or something.
Well, the thing is, I actually spoke to a beekeeper, and he said what it is you have to find the queen. But because it was in a chimney, he said you can't get in there. So he said, obviously, the thing to do was to cover up this slight hole, which I have done now. But 3, 4 years later, they're still there. So, I got rid of some. They all survived once they woke up after I like scooped them out of the house. Took a while. But yeah, in the mornings in the summer, I'll often just hear my fireplace buzzing. So
I just can. Did they start swarming you then? Were you
they
like,
did when they got agitated and I got really stung. I did go into shock a little bit, and at one point I'd sit at my kitchen table. I was just a bit defeated, and I felt as though maybe I was going to have some kind of like seizure because I was just stung, and I started to go a bit white and a bit hot and sweaty. But obviously didn't want to damage them too much because everyone loves a bee. But wow, there was a lot. There was a lot in my house. I've never seen such a thing. That was quite dramatic.
I don't know if it was just me, Shelley, or whether you got this as well, but when that story started, right to the point of getting stung, I mean, I just thought there was a punchline coming. I assumed this was a joke.
It's a tale of woe.
You're just shoveling bees up, and then what were you surprised when they got agitated?
Job of bees, and they all turned on you.
The thing is, what could you do? I mean, honestly, you wouldn't. I've never seen bees like in a kind of, in a carpet shape before, where scooping up just hundreds of bees at a time. And I had my sash window open, so I was just like shoveling them out the window. And then they didn't like it after a while.
No, you wouldn't really, would you?
Well, that's when I got stung.
Yeah.
I mean, I was annoyed for sure, but I can see why they did it.
Oh, what? Where are we in proceedings?
That's really the way that I saw this going. Shall I try and take us back to the story now, or shall we just move on?
Oh, well done, Jim. You've really upset Stu. You thought that was a nice story. That was really insensitive.
Like I said, bees are popular. Everyone's got a story.
I mean, I don't know if they have quite like that. Let's get back to this new bee superfood. Okay, so it's apparently, right, it's got all the nutrients they need. It's got your sterols, which until now have been almost impossible to make in labs. The Oxford team cracked it by engineering yeast to produce exactly the sterols that bees require. Professor Geraldine Wright, who led the research, has described it as a huge accomplishment, and she's right. Because it turns out that when bees have a proper balanced diet, they don't just survive, they thrive. So we still need larger trials for this superfood. As little as 2 years, though, in as little as 2 years, this bee superfood could be available to farmers and beekeepers, which is brilliant. Because beekeepers in the UK have been having a rough time. One chap in Cardiff lost 75% of his colonies last year. I mean, it's heartbreaking, but it does also raise the question, where did they go? Did they all just vanish into thin air?
Where do they go?
I don't know. Were they recruited by MI5 maybe for a covert honey-based surveillance?
I'm really sorry, but I was trying to sip my coffee and I started thinking about Stu being stalked by bees again. And then I just laughed all my coffee into my face. I
think that's probably karma.
I just need to clean my glasses.
Okay, you crack on with that. I'll crack on with this.
So
yes, to try and sum up and get through this as best we can, bees now have their own superfood, protein, shakes, supplements, complete nutrition, the full works. They're about to turn into tiny little gym bros. And honestly, it's about time they got the help, because without these, we are, as Stu's mentioned, we are in serious trouble. Without them, lots of stuff collapses, humanity collapses. But with bees on protein shakes, we might just stand a chance of getting through the next apocalypse with strawberries, cider, and actual meals instead of just beige nutrient paste. So the message is, bees are back, baby, healthier and stronger. Wasps, on the other hand, remain pissy, even more so. Now bees are getting special treatment.
So, Jim, Shelley, would you like to know about a pig lung which has been transplanted into a human?
What is it? Is it some sort of medical miracle, or is it a setup for Babe 3 Pig in the Hospital?
It's not actually. It's in China, a landmark achievement for xenotransplantation. Scientists have performed the world's first successful transplant of a pig lung into a human. So the breakthrough, this was detailed in Nature magazine, opens new possibilities for addressing the critical shortage of human organs for transplant. So the procedure involved a 39-year-old brain-dead man who received a genetically engineered pig lung. The lung with its genes, they were also modified, so they were more compatible with the human body, and also to reduce the immune rejection, which is always a big problem, isn't it, with transplants, remain viable and functional for 9 days. So the successful period of function demonstrates that actually this is feasible. So lungs are considered one of the most challenging organs to transplant from animals due to their delicate physiology and constant exposure to the environment. So whilst previous experiments have involved, I've probably heard like pig hearts, kidneys and livers, this is the first lung transplant. So experts around the world have praised the study as a significant step forward, highlighting its potential to offer a new avenue for patients on long waiting lists. But there is caution. This experiment, what were you going to say, Shelley, there?
Oh no, I was just like, ooh.
Yeah, there is some caution. This experiment was limited to a single case in a brain dead patient. So further research, of course, is going to be necessary. So the transplanted pig lung maintained viability and functionality for 9 days without major rejection or infection. So this breakthrough, as we said, could offer a solution to the critical shortage of donor organs, because many patients die whilst waiting for suitable organs. And did you know there are about 150 patients waiting for a lung transplant in Britain each year? But many of the organs donated are not suitable due to illness or smoking or vaping. Because pigs are raised as a food source, their organs could one day also be available on demand for transplants. So what do we think about that?
Oh, there's a couple of things really that occurred to me. I mean, you said it's a medical milestone, but let's be honest, it's also the first step towards creating the world's worst Peppa Pig spin-off. I'm a bit concerned. One day we might all be walking around part pig. Will that make bacon sandwiches officially cannibalism?
Yeah, well, it will. Would that put you off?
Nah, it's worth it.
It's not very good for veganism, though, is it? And the message that, like, because if you're like, as vegans are sort of, saying don't like farm animals, because it's bad for the environment. But then if you're farming animals and then also using them for organ transplant, I think, for anybody who is absolutely desperately waiting for an organ, though, I mean, it will be healthier.
And if you're kind of engineering the pigs for food anyway, then you can also harvest the organs at the same time to use for these lung transplants.
I mean, ethically, it raises a number of questions, doesn't it? But it's certainly interesting. Now, look, we couldn't cover animal stories without Shelley bringing something about cats. So what heartwarming, Moggy-related news have you got for us this week, Shelley?
There's an artist in New York who has been stalking the streets of Brooklyn where she lives. Her name's Becca Snyder, and she has been noticing people's cats in windows. And because she's an artist, she's started painting people's cats, and then she gives the painting of the cat to the owners, and with like a card in it saying who she is and with her contact details. So they'll suddenly come home and find this surprise gift on their doorstep from her with a lovely painting of their cat in it.
It's nice the surprise gifts that your cat leaves you when you come home, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not from the cat, it's from a fan of cats. But she's ended up actually making friends with people through doing it. It's sort of like quite a nice community story, I feel, in a way. But also the other thing I really liked about it was she was also using like the cat surroundings to kind of theme some of the paintings that she did. Like, for example, there was a cat in an apartment above a sushi restaurant, so she painted the picture of the cat with it like coming out of a piece of sushi. It's like it's in the middle. Sorry, I'm saying I can see Jim's face, and he's pulling all these really confused.
No, I'm not confused. Well, I get the concept, but
yeah, I get the concept. I think it's a good thing to do, isn't it? Someone leaves you a surprise gift, you come home, go, oh, that's amazing, thank you very much, get in touch with them, and it's that whole passing on a good deed, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a great thing to do.
You
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
buy her artwork as well. But just be warned, if you see any of her artwork on Temu, do not buy it, because they have not asked her permission. They
So what was her name
ripped off.
again? What was the artist?
It's Becca Schneider, and her little shop is called Becca by Hand. And
Okay.
so she is on Etsy, and also, I mean, I'll share her little video through our socials, and you can get a link to her business. And she also does little hand painted cat pendants. So you can send her a photo of your cat, and she will paint it into a little pendant for you.
How many of those do you now have, Shelley?
Well, I looked at the price, and they're £91 each. So
okay.
0. I just thought it was just very lovely.
No, it's a lovely act of kindness, but it's also how cults start. And today it's all cat portraits. Tomorrow it's worshipping the great tabby in the sky.
Oh, do you know, I feel really worn out after laughing about the whole bee thing. Isn't it really hard?
It's tiring at the end of the day, isn't
talking about.
Speaking of things that are tiring,
yeah,
let's talk about fitness, and let's talk about the importance of getting our 10,000 steps a day. Is that correct, Stu?
Well, it isn't. It isn't actually, and this is my kind of good news. My kind of good news exercise. So this is for people who don't complete 10,000 steps a day. So Dr. Murray Houston, in a significant breakthrough in a major study, has found where the biggest health gains are made, and it's not 10,000 steps a day. New study finds all you need is 7,000. So for years, the 10,000 step daily goal has been the benchmark for fitness trackers everywhere. You can't go to work these days without people saying, oh, God, I've done 8,000 steps today, 9,000 steps. I'm going to 12,000 steps. It's like the runners, isn't it? When they keep telling you how far they've run, everyone telling you about how many steps they've done. But where did this number come from? It wasn't from decades of scientific research, but it was
from someone.
It was a 1960s Japanese marketing campaign. Thank you, Shelley. I'm going to say this again in a minute, but how do you say it? Is it a pedometer or a
pedometer?
A pedometer, definitely not a pedometer. No. I don't know what that is, but it'd be for something very different.
What is it? A pedometer?
Pedometer.
Right. Okay, I'm not going to say pedometer then. A pedometer. Right. Okay.
So tell us about pedometers, Stu.
Oh, a pedometer company called Yamasa wanted to cash in on the 1964 Tokyo Olympics fever. So it launched a device called Mampo Gai, literally 10,000 steps meter. Catchy name.
What was it called again?
It was called Mampo Ki. So literally 10,000 steps meter. The Japanese character for 10,000 resembles a walking person, while 10,000 itself is a memorable round number. At that number, there was no robust evidence for ever a target of 10,000 steps made any difference at all. But it was just a clever marketing choice that stuck. So now a major new study from the University of Sydney offers a more achievable goal. Their research found that walking just 7,000 steps a day provides nearly the same health benefits as hitting the 10,000 step target. So people who completed 7,000 daily steps had a 47% lower risk of dying prematurely compared to those who walked only 2,000 steps. This benefit was almost identical to the one seen at 10,000 steps, suggesting that the most significant health gains occur at the lower threshold. So the comprehensive study, which reviewed the impact of daily step counts on the risk of death from cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, dementia, and depression, found that even small increases matter. So just moving from 2,000 to 4,000 steps a day, for example, reduced the risk of early death by 36%. So the research also noted that most steps come from everyday activities and not just structured exercise. So if you're over 60, the maximum benefits were found to be between 6,000 and 8,000 daily steps.
Great news, love that. So for Becca strolling around her neighbourhood looking for judgy window cats, she's going to get her 7,000 steps nice and easily.
Oh, I bet she makes 10,000 steps.
So who does that currently? Does anyone check their steps daily at the moment?
Today I have done 16,280 steps.
There's no need.
Well, I did it anyway. It's because I started the day with a 10k run.
Well, there's no need.
10k, how do you have time?
Well, it didn't take that long, does it? So it's less than an hour.
Yeah, but there's no benefit to that.
What? There's no benefit to me doing this run.
Yeah, you're completely wasting your time.
You're wasting your time.
I don't know. I'm 2 stone lighter than I was 6 months ago, so I disagree.
Well, not according to the Sydney University of Research.
Yeah, I might see what Bath have got to say on the topic. Let's stay with health stories. Shelley.
I have to really try and pull myself together now and focus and stop thinking about Stu being attacked by bees, because actually this is quite a sensitive topip for some people. And
okay, all right. Let's clear our thoughts, and here we go.
Time for some adulting, people. Come on, we can do this.
So anyway, endometriosis is a condition that affects about 10% of women worldwide. Well, as we think, 10% of women worldwide, because it's actually something that's quite hard to get a diagnosis for. And on average, it takes about 7 years to get a diagnosis for it. There are a few reasons for that. Sadly, one of them just being that women are not always believed about things like, living in pain, especially when it comes to things like their menstrual cycle or gynecological health.
Can I just ask Shelley, what is this? Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I was going to let you know what endometriosis was. So it's a condition where the lining of the uterus that sort of builds up during the menstrual cycle is kind of actually leaving where it's supposed to be, and it's forming lesions outside of the uterus. So those usually will be in sort of the peritoneal area, and they'll get onto like bladder and bowel, and they can get onto the spine, but they have also been known to travel, and people have actually had them in their lungs as well. And it causes obviously inflammation and pain. And when it'll cause pain sort of in between cycles, and during someone's cycle, they'll have really heavy periods, lots and lots of pain. But also it will do things like, they'll get an upset stomach, they can have vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, fatigue. It's almost impossible to really work in those conditions as well, feeling like that. But because it's just been seen as just a bad period, and you need to tough it out a little bit. So it's and it's only just recently, I think, that people are starting to get a bit more aware, which is one of the good things about social media and the internet, is where people are actually using it as a platform for their voice.
Because I have heard, heard it spoken about more over last year. I think it was the BBC breakfast presenters at Naga. She was on the
Naga
radio.
Monchetti.
She was talking about it. So again, I certainly wasn't aware of this.
Yeah.
So it's good that it's finally being sort of recognised for what it is. So when I listened to some of the interview, was it kind of sort of written off a little bit by doctors and GPs in the past, or?
The lady who I'm speaking about today, her name is Katie Burns, and she's a scientist who has lived with the condition since she was about 9 years old, because actually you can start getting the lesions and the pain before you even hit puberty. She's been living with it for a long time, and during childhood, she didn't end up having it diagnosed until she was in college, because other women said to her, look, it's not normal to live like this. But when she was younger, they actually said, we think this is psychological. The doctor said, we think this is psychological. So she was sort of written off when she was much younger. And it wasn't until she got older and kind of got, old enough to kind of get her own voice and push herself forward. But also she was already working as a scientist, and then she ended up taking part in some research about endometriosis, which the research that they took part in, it didn't really work very well. The medication that they were giving to people actually made people feel that it increased pain, but fortunately for her, she got the placebo. But it did introduce her to the scientists that were doing the research, and she has then ended up like kind of joining one of the teams that research endometriosis. Through the research, they have actually, for what's been considered for quite a long time as something that was hormone related. So usually the treatments for it are hormone treatments, so things like the pill, and also surgical treatments as well. And a lot of the time people would actually need surgery. They'd need a laparoscopy to actually get inside and diagnose it, because that's the only way they could see all the lesions. But during their research, they've actually started to look more at the immune system, and they really think there's strong evidence to suggest that the immune system might be the cause of this rather than hormones. So nothing is set yet. There was lots of really, really complicated stuff in this article, and it's a good article, but it is a long read. It's from the online science.org web journals that they've interviewed her.
Is this something you could share on the Facebook page afterwards?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
so
I
people
could. Yes, but there's a lot of it goes, because it's a science journal, it does really go down into the sort of molecular level of, like macrophages, neutrophils, killer cells, all of these things. So it's quite interesting for a nerd like me anyway.
So there's been lots of women sort of living with this sort of hidden, scenario in their lives for quite a long time, and being basically told to just get over it, almost sort of.
Yeah, I think
sort
it's
of minimized somewhat.
Yeah, it's finally being recognized as a disability, having to live with something like this. But it's one of those things that because it's invisible, it's quite difficult to battle out. If if you've got a good employer, things like that, you'll probably get some support. But lots of people, as we know, as we've talked about, don't have a good employer. Off the back of this, though, there are now treatment trials going on for medications that work on the immune system, but we're not really anywhere near there being like a licensed medication that is out there. But they are looking into it now. Research is happening, so hopefully without funding cuts, if they can, but it will get somewhere. But there are scientists out there who are battling really, really hard for people who are living with this condition and doing some amazing work. So hopefully that there is, some positivity to come out of this in the end.
This week, across England, Wales and Northern Ireland, teenagers picked up their GCSE results. It's that magical time of year when 16-year-olds discover whether they'll be heading towards university, apprenticeships, or simply a career of sighing heavily while making frappuccinos. But buried among the collective sighs of relief and the odd panic about resits was some genuinely good news. The gender gap in grades is finally narrowing. For years, boys have lagged behind girls academically, particularly in core subjects like English, maths, and remembering to bring a pen. But this year's results showed boys catching up. Almost 20% of them managed a grade 7 or higher, compared to about 25% of girls. And that's the closest that the gap's been since the year 2000, which, I mean, let's be honest here, most of these students think of that as ancient history, like the Tudors or dial-up internet. And it's not because girls are doing worse, boys are just doing better. Apparently someone's finally told them that Minecraft doesn't count towards the UCAS points. Girls' results, on the other hand, are flatlined, and some say that's down to youth mental health, particularly the impact of social media, which does make sense. If I had to scroll through TikTok every day, being told that I need a side hustle and whatever else, I'd probably forget my quadratic equations too. But schools are now fighting back. They're banning phones in classrooms, which is brilliant because teenagers definitely respect rules about phones. You know, if you tell a 15-year-old to put their phone down, they'll absolutely immediately comply without rolling their eyes so hard you could hear it echo down a corridor.
Or having a full breakdown about it and
Yeah.
screaming at you. That doesn't happen either.
No, none of that ever happens. I think, yeah, we can celebrate this for what it is. It's genuine progress. Boys are catching up. Girls are holding steady. More young people of all genders are leaving school with decent qualifications, which means hopefully a better shot at jobs, futures, and God, who knows? Maybe we could even have a functioning government by 2050.
It's better though than the stories that they always seem to have every year. Like if like GCSE or A level results improved, the news would always suddenly go, "Oh, they've done better this year. Is that because they're getting easier?" And then kind of just sort of dismiss everyone's achievement with just this same headline every year.
Have you considered the reason they're not saying that this year is because the boys have done better?
Ooh.
So
This is to do with the patriarchy, Stu.
Just throw that in the mix. But I think it's like any stats, isn't it? This is based on 1 year. So let's see next year and the year after to see if it is a trend or it's a bit of an outlier. But in itself, it's good news, isn't it? That boys are closing the gap. Be interesting to know what's underneath that, and obviously we don't know yet because obviously that's just been released. But yeah, interesting. Like you mentioned, social media, mental health. That there's a lot of factors, aren't there, which are, you know, driving those scores. And you know, the youth are under a lot of pressure these days. Social media, you know, lack of jobs, future, and so on and so forth. But in itself, that's really good news. So let's take a look at that one again next year. Also,
I'll make a note. Good. Well, that's about it for this week's parade of surprisingly cheerful headlines. We've had treaties, bees on protein shakes, pig lungs, window cats, steps that don't require lycra, medical breakthroughs, and GCSE results so good that even a Reform MP couldn't blame them on immigrants. Not bad, really. Let's do the embarrassing bit now, the begging. Yes, please like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. Smash that button like it said something rude about your mum. Tell your friends, tell your nan, tell the bloke in front of you at Greg's. Every little helps, as Tesco nearly said about podcasts. We're on all the socials too, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even Threads if you can be bothered to look there. Follow us on any of those platforms for stuff. I mean, there's not much of it, but it's quality, not quantity, right? Join us again.
Come on, Jim, sell it.
That I just did.
Yeah.
What do you want from me, man?
A free gift. Do people get a free gift?
Yeah, they can have a free gift.
Let me just check. Hang on. No.
That might be
yes, they can have a free gift, Stu. What exactly are you planning to offer?
There's a free gift for the first person who leaves a comment. We'll direct message them and we'll get a gift from the Everything's Fine, probably prize cupboard.
Wouldn't it be really funny if it's like a really critical, like they're just telling us how crap we are, and then we're like, "Thank you for your comment." It's a free gift.
Well, then they'll get a different type of surprise gift, won't they?
We just want a comment. That's all we want.
Okay, well, keep us informed on that, Stu. Join us next week when we'll be diving into good news from history. Stories from the past that are still paying off today, because apparently not all history was plagues, wars, and Henry VIII's midlife crises. Who knew? Until then, stay happy, stay positive, and if you're finding that difficult, just remember, everything's fine. Probably.